yeah, so thanks for coming, for the interest on the topic. And yeah, I'm not actually a designer. I'm a social psychologist, and somehow I get to the user experience design like 10 years ago, and it was very fascinating for me because, you know, as a social psychologist, I yeah, look at how people behave, and as I was always very interested in technology, it was interesting for me how people behave in the context of technology, and especially like how can you make technology to meet people's needs better. And like 10 years ago, probably some of you can still remember how it was. Actually, in Germany, where I work, there was not even like such a job description as customer experience designer. So it basically didn't exist. So what I was actually doing back then was kind of damage control, because you know, I was working as a consultant with a client. So it was quite usual that if we did some user tests and actually the product failed this user tests, then the customer will tell, oh no, no problem, they will learn how it works. Yeah, and it was still like a lot of convincing that it's actually not about the people learning how to use it, but it's rather about making such a good product that they don't have to learn how to use it. And I don't want to say that it's not the case anymore. I mean, you still sometimes, especially if you work with like corporate clients, they still have this perception of customer experience. But generally, the criteria for good user experience change, and the expectations from users change as well. I mean, technology is everywhere. Machines are smarter and smarter, and thanks, for example, to artificial intelligence, this is actually IBM Watson who bet like human players in Jeopardy. It's already like 2 years ago. And of course, like better increased processor capacity and increasing memory makes it possible to process more and more data faster and faster. So technology is, as I said, it's everywhere. It's so cheap that basically like everything from a toothbrush to keychain, from shoes to shirts, from home thermostats to traffic lights can actually be equipped with sensors and an internet connection. And thanks to this, we see like a very changed role of technology in our daily lives. That's actually, maybe you know, this picture is a Pope election. This one is 2005. You see the one early adopter, like here in the corner. And this is the Pope election, like 2013. You see the lights everywhere. So, I mean, even my parents, who are definitely not like native internet users, they are heavy Facebook users by now, and they perceive technology as something totally normal in their daily lives. We don't expect technology just to be like a productivity tool, something we have to do work. We expect it to be convenient. And convenience soon will go below that what we expect from convenience now. Now it's quite convenient that I have my smartphone and I can do everything from a smartphone. I don't have to use any PC or something like this. But it's going far beyond this. Let me tell you like some hypothetical story which might happen like in a few years. So I will not wake up like this by an annoying alarm of sound of an alarm clock, but instead by the smell of freshly brewed coffee and soft morning light and gentle back massage. And it's not my boyfriend who is trying to do this day so very special. He's still snoring on the other side of the bed, but he actually doesn't need to, because, you know, the sensors in my mattress analyze my sleep, and they can tell when I'm not in the deep sleep phase anymore and what would be the best time to wake me up. And these sensors give information to the roller blinds, to the coffee machine, and of course the massage element in my bed. And it's not only my bedroom, like my home is connected and equipped with sensors, and it learns from my preferences. It knows what kind of music, what kind of temperature I like. My smart closet synchronizes with my calendar and knows what kind of clothing I should wear on this day based on the appointments I have in calendar. My smart toilet analyzes my values and knows what kind of nutrients I might be missing. And based on that, it gives the information to my smart kitchen, which can prepare the breakfast based on this necessary nutrients I need, and of course on my known preferences. And my smart fridge can, of course, do some shopping for me, so I don't need to do this because it knows what is in there. It knows that maybe the milk is not good anymore, so it automatically buys a new milk. And of course, my self-driving car, which is finally approved in Germany. Like, I don't know, probably it will happen in like 20 years. So I can drive even if I don't have a driving license. And it, again, synchronizes my calendar and knows if there is any traffic on the route to my morning appointment. And back from work, on the way home, I go to a fashion store. I really like this. But in the very moment I go inside, I get an information from my personal finance management application, which tells me, oh no, you reached your spending limit for fashion shopping this month, so I will really highly recommend you to leave now. And you can come back next month as, there's sales and the prices are expected to drop, so come back then. So I reluctantly leave the store, and instead I go for a run to get some bonus points for my health insurance discount. And it sounds maybe a little bit funny, but I'm not the first one to predict this. Like science fiction literature and movies predicted it like many years ago, and not only science fiction, but if there are any Simpsons fans, there was a Simpsons episode in 2001 who actually was dealing with similar stuff. Oops. Sorry.
May I interest you in a housewife's dream?
Oh, no. A sales bat.
If you convert your home to an Ultra House 3000, you'll never have to do housework again.
No housework, eh?
Dinner is served.
Various eggs.
Soy-gettios. Hey, Pierce, how'd you know our favorite foods?
I analyzed your leavings.
Oh.
Pierce, that was delicious. Can we help you with the dishes?
Marge, what kind of cybertronic ultrabot would I be if I let those beautiful hands touch dishwater?
Oh.
No, I'm asking.
Not a very good one?
Damn straight.
Bravo, Pierce.
So, for The Simpsons, it was already possible like 15 years ago. But the actual use of such technologies in the consumer mainstream actually started just recently. And you may laugh about both these pictures, but, we are at least halfway there. And we actually have all these necessary components which make creating such experiences possible. And as I already told you, like this, the artificial intelligence and more and more processing capacity and makes it possible. But it's not only this. We have this like 5 context driving forces like mobile, social, data, sensors, and location, which actually makes it more and more usable and kind of available for everyone. And based on these forces and artificial intelligence, there are some new customer experience trends as well, which are actually rising since probably like last year especially. And these are personalization, prediction, and zero user interface. You might have heard about all of them already. So personalization is what everybody knows from Amazon, actually. So that's my Amazon screen, and there's like a lot of obviously customer experience and management books. But then, look at this one. Oh, it's in German, sorry. But it says, you know, everything I need for baby, like in one list. So I'm asking myself, why is it so? I mean, I definitely didn't search for anything like this. And maybe it's kind of a try to make some prediction. And I was so scared as I saw this that I immediately took a test because I'm not pregnant and I don't intend to. So it would be very interesting for me how actually Amazon made this prediction. It's maybe because I turned 30 last year, so they are trying to tell me something. I don't know. But what prediction rather is that I don't explicitly have to tell my expectations. Like, you know, I would write a message to my boyfriend, "Hi, darling, I'll be home about 8, and, you know, I'm very tired and stressed up," and he will prepare, like, a nice bath and, you know, pour in some wine and light some candles. Yeah, that's the way prediction still works most of the time. It's the same with technology, actually, so... but we have already some examples for prediction. Probably, like a lot of you use Google now, which basically can make recommendations for me without me explicitly having to take action. So, if I have something in my calendar or in my wallet, and it knows that I'm, for example, at home currently, it can tell me that I have to leave now because there is high traffic in on my daily route. But yes, prediction itself is actually not enough. The next step is zero interface or no interface. Because why should we actually tap or type or click on small or big displays, you know? It was necessary for all these years because otherwise the computer wouldn't understand us. But now there are other ways of communicating which are possible. Like thanks to computer vision and voice recognition, machines can actually more and more communicate with us as it's usual for humans. So there are some first approaches, like Amazon Echo. I don't know if someone is using this. It's kind of a first zero UI approach, as it doesn't have any display. It just has like 7 microphones, and you can talk to this, and it's listening. You just have to say Amazon or Alexa, and just start listening, and it can play music for you. It can play audiobooks for Audible, and it can also tell you bad jokes if you wish. And there are also other examples, like Luna, like smart mattress cover. I'm still waiting for a shipping. Like for 1 year, so I don't know if it finally shipped, but it's interesting. It's like kind of a smart mattress cover, and it analyzes your sleep, and it gives you recommendation for how can you improve your sleep, when should you go to bed. It can warm up your bed to your preferable temperature, and so on. There is actually also like a smart fridge from LG, which actually you can text, and it will tell you if you still have enough beer for tonight, or if it should buy some milk. And of course, there are some wearables. I'm obviously a fan of this. I'm wearing like Apple Watch like now, and a few years ago I started wearing Fitbit, which helped me get fit again. And then I moved to Garmin for like some professional sports. And they are making my life way more convenient, and it can be even more convenient as we soon will not have to wear actually anything because the sensors can be kind of implanted or ingested. There are actually some first trials with like ingestible sensors, and they can really improve our life quality. as they can early warn from heart attacks before they happen. They can administer right doses of medicine, and so on. And they're all like examples of actually great customer experience, which can improve our life quality or even save lives. So I actually should be filled with happiness when I design such kind of experiences or when I interact with such kind of experiences. But there is kind of also another side of this. If you just take the example of fitness trackers and wearables, I mean, it can make your life more healthy and convenient, but what it can also do is decrease your health insurance rate, which you will say, okay, it's great, why not? Why not get a discount? And already some insurance companies are doing this. But just think of the consequences. Of course, for now, it's completely voluntary to give this data. But if everybody is doing this, and everybody is giving this data, and obviously, being healthier will give you better health insurance conditions, so why not to do this? So if someone is not giving this data, that's quite a strong implication that something is not right with him. He probably doesn't move that much or eat unhealthy and so on. So automatically, just because she doesn't want to give this data, she will land in a high risk and high rate bracket. And that might mean that basically the kind of solidarity system on which the health insurance is based, especially in Europe, is kind of coming to an end because the health insurance are not actually taking any risks because the people who are potentially engaging risky behaviors will not be insured at all. So when you look at such examples, then it starts to sound a little bit fishy. And the same way I think Marge felt in another part of the Simpsons clip, which I want to show you.
Hello, Marge.
Oh, my.
Come, Marge. You don't need to cover up for me. I'm merely a pile of circuits and microchips.
Sorry, sometimes I forget.
Ooh, yes.
Oh, Pierce, the water's perfect.
Isn't it just? It gets better.
No, you don't have to do an... Oh, Pierce, that's good.
Oh, dear me. Oh, yes. Yum, yum, yum.
So, even if the experience at the end is quite great, as for Marge here, at some point of time we feel kind of that our privacy is kind of violated and we feel watched. And I have the impression that it's very similar as with the Uncanny Valley. I don't know if you know Uncanny Valley. It's basically from robotics that people sympathize more and more with avatars in robots as they're getting like more human-like. So, for example, we feel we are more like sad when Snow White is hunted or whatever than if Homer Simpson is getting beaten up, for example. But at some point of time, it actually drops as the robots are getting more and more similar to humans, but we still feel something is not right there. And it's actually the same with data. We kind of have this uncanny valley of data. At the very beginning, we're ready to give more and more data as the experience is better and better. But at some point of time, like for example with this health insurance topic, we have this impression, I don't want you to have my data, or you're asking yourself, like me in this Amazon example, like, how do you have this data? How did you make this prediction? I don't understand it. I don't want you to do this. And maybe at the end, if this prediction is great, we'll still have the amazing experience. But first, there's always this valley. So what I'm asking myself is, when we produce this all great, amazing, personalized experience, if, on the other hand, we don't deprive people from another important need, like their need for privacy. So I was asking myself, is it really actually an important need? And there are some data about this. And actually, I expected big differences between Germany and US because, in Germany, there's a lot of talk about privacy, and it's very important. And there are some regulations and so on. But I actually looked at Pew Research for the American data and for research for data from German Institute, and they were basically the same. So 73% say they are concerned about privacy. And 80% say it's not fair that online services pretend to give services for free, but actually let you pay with the data. And 90% say it's very important for them to have the control over their data. So, I mean, this picture is pretty clear, yeah? When you look at this number, actually everybody cares a lot about privacy. So I'm asking myself, why don't we stop doing whatever we're doing and just start designing for privacy? And there is the reason for that. There is some other data. So 55% say they are willing to share personal information with companies in order to use online services for free. And 61% say they are not willing to pay for services, not to monetize their data. And 76% say they only use free or only mainly use free services. And probably the number is way higher as people tend to lie about such things. So, 76%. So what do the numbers tell us? That 80% disapprove free services making money with data, but at the same time, almost 80% use them. So how is this actually possible? We're quite irrational species, and I can recommend you this book about predictable irrationality. Especially we really like to lie, especially to ourselves. And the reason is that we don't deliberately lie in some questionnaires. We just know that different things are better for us, so we pretend that we're doing this. Like, about privacy, everybody heard about Edward Snowden. I'm not sure how the perception of him is in this room, but in Europe he's a very, very, very positive example and an example for what can happen to how the authorities are using or misusing our data. So we know, we read newspapers, we watch it on TV, and we know actually that we should care. So that's why when we were asked and we pretend that we care, but actually in our actions we do something different. And the most important point is like whether we really value privacy or just pretended to do, we just value other things more. And it's not that we don't have the possibility to do it different way. I mean, we can pay cash, but it's just way more convenient to pay with the card. And, we can set up password and username for each service, but it's so tempting to use just the existing Connect with Facebook button. We can turn off the cookies in our browsers, but we don't want to continually re-enter our passwords, and we enjoy very much using personalized services. So don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm really a privacy or security evangelist. I'm actually, it would be quite hypocritical if I would be, because I'm the same like lazy and irrational human being as most are, and I also very much enjoy using personalized and free services, and don't read terms and conditions and so on. And the problem is that right now I have the impression that I always have to choose, and most of the time I just choose convenience. And I'm constantly asking myself if it's really like the continuum, If I want more convenience, I have to give up privacy, and if I want more privacy, I have to give up some of the convenience. And that I'm asking this myself from like my perspective as a user who is kind of aware of privacy, but on the other side also as a consultant who wants to advise the customer to create like the best solutions for his customers. So how can we actually do this to bring this both aspects more and more together? And the first thing I saw in my work with clients is that it's very difficult to talk about privacy and convenience in a rational way, because there are not really a lot of balanced views about this. You have like either people, who say, I don't give a crap about privacy, all I want is data. And that's kind of mostly like the startup perspective and so on. Then you have the more geek perspective. I don't give a crap about user experience, and the only important thing is privacy and security. And if you work with big companies, especially in Europe, they are like, oh, I don't care about both, but I have this lawyer and this data protection officer, and he or she says I have to do this way. So that's mostly like the most important thing, that it's kind of legally correct and so on. Still, we can and we should deal with this, and it's not like because just of like a hypothetical value of privacy. It's because if you creep people out, they will just not like to use your services. And so let me show you some examples how to like create both valuable experience and still kind of respect some privacy. So the first thing I'm always asking myself is, does the customer benefit from giving me his data? How will having this data help me meet actually her needs? And last time, for example, I was using such a service about personalized interior design and so on. And first they asked me to fill in some questionnaire about my design preferences. And obviously I did it with pleasure because I understood why I should do this. I want to get some recommendations for my interior design. But in the next step, I just get this, and they asked me to give my telephone number. And without giving them the telephone number, I couldn't move forward. And so I asked myself, why? Why do they need my telephone number? Because before I even know what's in for me. So I left, even if I wanted to use this service. And it's the same actually currently with Twitter. I wanted to create a new Twitter account for my new company, and they don't let me in when I don't give if I don't give the telephone number. And the best thing about this, it doesn't work. I give in my telephone number, but I never get any code I would need to enter. So the first thing is, don't ask for data if you don't really need it. And if you ask for data, like telephone number, then make sure that it works if the user gives you this data. Don't give the user the impression that they have a stalker. For example, this Amazon example. I want to have kind of nice butler who is there when I need him, but I don't want a service to stalk me all the time. Give the people a choice, even if it's maybe sometimes a tough one. If you will only feed people with cake, then they will become obese at the end. So maybe some of them will choose the apple, but they at least need to have this choice. And a good example is location, like the tracking of location. Like almost every service now wants to have access to your location all the time. So ask yourself, is it really necessary? For example, if I don't understand why I should give access to my location to some newspaper I use, I will not use this. So maybe there are alternatives. Maybe you don't need this access, or maybe instead of having automatized access, you give the people possibility of manual input of some data if they don't want to be tracked all the time. Don't patronize the user. So especially with some recommendation algorithm with artificial intelligence, I see kind of the danger that that you will not have a choice anymore. That your preferences will be analyzed, and based on this, the applications will tell you basically what to do. And as I already told, people are not rational, so it's not really possible. And I don't think it will be possible that you will always give them exactly the things he or she actually wants. So just give him recommendation and don't patronize them, and still give him the control. And tell people what you actually know about them. Because actually that's what a lot of people are scared about this information asymmetry, that I actually don't know what they are saying about this. I would really have liked or wished the possibility to click on the image on Amazon and to understand why they're actually recommending it to me, and maybe to change some of my data, or to tell them, okay, it's not right what you're recommending to me. And like more and more companies are starting actually at least moving in the direction of information symmetry. Like, for example, Google, everyone can have access to the Google dashboard, and you can actually see what kind of data Google is saving about you. And don't let people get lost in the privacy labyrinth. Like, you have quite often the impression that you have like very long terms and conditions and a lot of pages in legal gibberish about how the companies are handling your data, and it's very difficult to get to the settings if you want to change it towards privacy. So if the users want to find it out, they will find out, and you will just piss them off if you will try to hide it from them. And if you really care about privacy, you have to make a default, because people are lazy, or rather in energy-saving mode. And what if you give them default settings? They will never change. And it was like Jakob Nielsen was telling yesterday, like most of the settings are never changed. So if you really care about privacy, and if you really want to support like privacy-friendly behavior, then privacy have to be the default setting. Then the people will not change it. And like one thing about how we are actually implementing the privacy into the UX design process is that we actually write user stories around privacy, so that we really don't forget this. If you work with an agile environment, you surely know what user stories are. So basically, we write stories like in order to reach the goal of feeling private. As a user, I would like to, for example, have the possibility of disabling cookies, or of not giving you access to location data, or in order to not creep a person out, the software has to collect as little data from Facebook Connect as possible, and so on. So we just think of privacy as a basic human need, and actually implicate that our customers will be concerned about privacy, and put it into our design process. Just to finish it, I will like to show you the last part of The Simpsons.
Showtime.
Unexplained bacon. Good old table.
Good morning, Marge.
Good morning, Pierce. Where's Homer?
I think he went to work early.
That sounds like a lie.
And why am I showing you this? Is because, technology has like great possibilities of making our life awesome, and not only more convenient, but also like really, really changing it, like due to personalized medicine, through optimized traffic flows, and so on. But it actually doesn't matter as long as people actually think that what I showed you in this movie is true. If they are scared of technology, then they will actually also ignore the benefits. So what I think we need is a kind of transparent set of rules, both technological and probably legal as well. And we need this information symmetry by providing transparency and giving people insights into their data. Because if they are scared of technology, if they think that it makes more bad than good, then they will actually not use it, and that will not be good for anyone. So, yeah, thank you. Are there any questions?
Thank you. I'd like to ask you, give people insights into data.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the data can be very complex. I mean, lots of things that where your data is logged and sourced.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you do that?
There are different ways of doing this. What I think is, especially, for example, if you make personalized services, that you, for example, have the information which is not shown all the time, obviously, because otherwise you would not be able to use it. But if you, for example, click on this and you have information, okay, why is it shown to you? Or like Google is making this, they are just telling you, okay, we have this and this and this data about you. Or that you have some kind of transparent, just a transparent overview. Of course you will not have, and this is this algorithm which looks like this and calculates this and this movement combined with this location data and so on. Probably not, but what you can at least list is we have the sensoric data, for example, from your watch. We have your geolocation, we analyze maybe your messages or something like this, that you actually have the transparency, at least what are they analyzing.
Okay, but then you also want to have the ability to say, okay, no, I don't want this off, but what does that mean? Because again, you could break all kinds of experiences because you do that.
Sure. Sure, it probably will not work for every experience, or you can say, okay, if you don't give us access to this data, we cannot provide you this, but at least you have a choice. And I think the problem is most of the time that that it's not really transparent for you. Like most people don't know actually what kind of data the services are actually collecting about you. Like, for example, most of the people think like Snapchat is so private because the pictures are getting deleted on the other side, but they are actually not deleted; they are there. So that's kind of misunderstanding. And of course, if you read it in this long pages of legal information, you will find it out, but nobody does it. So the question is, how are you making also this information more accessible and not only this necessary legal note who actually every service wants to be as complicated as possible. Mm-hmm.
Then, quickly you could get to, okay, but if you want this service from us, then we need more information for you. So, isn't that a broken experience too? Because,
Mm-hmm.
you have to ask time and time again for more data.
It depends what kind of experiences they are. I think that there are a lot of experiences like messaging and so on where there's actually no necessity of collecting any data, And there are some services like, for example, Threema and so on, which are going into the privacy direction. But you still have the problem that people have usually to pay for this, because if you don't have data, you have to monetize it in another way. And as you saw, most of the people are not ready to pay for this. So that's still a difficult question. And I mean, I'm not necessarily a fan of a lot of like legal regulations, but the problem is for now, like there were some examples of software like trying to be very transparent, and they told the user we are collecting this and this and this data, and the users freaked out. And it was not that it was something very special or crazy. It was the same, like everybody's actually collecting, but the others are just not telling this, and they were very transparent about this. So I think there is kind of necessity for rules or a codex or something, or how you deal with this. So basically everybody is doing this in the same way, because otherwise now the guys are winning who are not actually transparent about this, because the people actually don't know about this. So yeah, we'll see. We're not at the end of this process. Yeah?
So thank you. It was really a fun talk.
Thanks.
I am grappling right now with education technology.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious to get your thoughts on, and a lot of actually what you said I can take away from you,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm specific to children.
Mm-hmm.
And gathering data on children, which can be incredibly useful for teachers going year to year, so that I know what was happening with this kid last year,
Mm-hmm.
the things that they were struggling with, behavioral problems. But there's a lot of fear in the industry about capturing that data and saving that data and using that data, because the fear is that it will be used later.
Exactly, yeah.
Hiring decisions or
Mm-hmm.
like 10 years down the road. So I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on balancing that as from a user experience perspective. I have some influence on that. I'm wondering what your
So I think that definitely, I mean, the children cannot decide on this, and I think it's very difficult to deal with data of people who are actually not able to decide for this by themselves. So there is the decision by the parents, and the question is, how can you actually make the data as anonymous as possible? Or which influence will it have? I mean, do you really have to have all this data for every child, like personally, or what is the experience at the end? So what kind of, as I said at the very beginning, like as little data as possible, so to say, and only the data which will really benefit the user in the end. It's difficult to talk about this like in this abstract way. Maybe we can talk later about this more in detail. And and kind of guarantees that the data will really be like deleted at the end. But that's a question of trust. Will the people really do this, and what are the consequences if they're not doing this? I think that's the most important. That there is really no access and no possibility of using this data past after the school or after the kids are not at school anymore. But even if at school it can have like different consequences, because will they influence their grades and so on? So in which way will this data be used to improve their performance, and in which way to punish them somehow? That's I think the difficult question here. So yeah, if there are no other questions, then we're quite in time. Thank you.